Switching over. Go ahead.
Hello, and welcome to the Master Plan on this beautiful June 5th on a Friday night. I am your host, Michael Philipkosky, here with Connor DeBiasi, and welcome back to another call-in stream. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. Tonight's going to be a lot of fun, and we're prepared. It's been, I hope, I know for a lot of you guys, school ended this past week. Um, and a lot, the school's coming to an end, so final projects are due. So I hope that we're able to give you this platform to kind of relax and kind of enjoy some good original content. We have a lot of stuff on the docket tonight. Obviously, right below me is the call-in number. If you at any time feel the urge, feel the need, or want to call in, please do at the number right below. Um, any sports questions will be asked. We won't be covering anything outside of the sports universe. Um, but anything in the sports universe, whether it's from pro fishing, which we might cover tonight, to fencing, to cricket, to lacrosse, to tennis, to baseball, anything you want, we will be covering it. If you have a question, I will be more than happy to answer it. Without further ado, let's get into the recent sports news. And there wasn't a lot this week in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality, big news. Connor, start us off with the NBA.
Yeah, the biggest news so far was probably the reopening plan of the. So they started to make their plan. They got dates down, everything down, ready to have a 16-day regular season for every team, 22 teams. I can show it on screen right now. But 22 different teams are coming back to play in hopes of playoffs or up their seeding going into the playoffs. Which the latest that the playoffs will end is October, I believe. So we're in for a good ride this summer.
So the at the end of the summer, I believe, the NBA will resume on July 31st. So July 31st, basically, I think to I believe like throughout the month of August will be the regular season, or probably for the first half of the regular season or month of August will be the regular season, and then moving into the second half of August and September will be the finals. The first, the four rounds, and then the NBA Finals Game 7 date is October 12th. So between July 31st and October 12th, the entire NBA season will be played out. Obviously, great news for all you hoopers out there. I know it's June, so Flight Reacts is probably going to be trying to get onto the Warriors. I don't think he will. But the yeah.
Warriors aren't one of the
Go
teams
ahead.
playing. I don't
Warriors are
know.
not one of the teams
I mean, they've this record in the NBA, so
playing.
maybe he'd actually get some
They
playing
won't be in
time.
conference.
But
Maybe he will.
yeah, a lot of interesting storylines, I think, going into this
Yeah, Connor, would
playoffs.
you like to cover the Trailblazers storyline?
I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
that's probably the most
there
interesting
was
one.
a
Go ahead.
all the 90 or 30 teams voted on this plan to set in action. There's one team that didn't vote, the Trailblazers. We talked about Damian Lillard last week being against the NBA reopening. His team right behind him says no. They said they don't want this to come back because they think there are more like competitive matters at stake than the playoffs, such as the draft lottery and the stakes for that. And the draft lottery works how, which actually I disagree with this statement on that because the draft lottery does not matter within games. It takes your
Mhm.
record from right when the season cut off,
Mhm.
or whatever, and
Mhm.
that's the point when the draft lottery spot
Right.
gets taken. It's surprising because Damian Lillard's argument was that if I don't have a chance to make the playoffs, I'm not going to play. But now he has the chance, so I don't know how his opinion would have changed on that if he's with his team saying
Right.
no or whatever.
Right.
Um, the Suns, I was actually surprised making it here for the Western Conference. Maybe they needed a make it even. I'm not too positive. I
Yeah,
think
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think really a lot of the injuries coming back could be interesting, especially in the East with the Nets having Kyrie. I think they said Katie will not be back. So, but they will
Yeah,
have Kyrie back. The
yeah,
Wizards might have John Wall back.
yeah.
The
So definitely
Pelicans,
right. So opportunity for teams that weren't looking to make the playoffs this season due to injured players. They might have an opportunity going down to the end of the season to be able to clinch a playoff berth in the NBA. Um, what I find interesting is this has been talked about a lot. The Western Conference is far more competitive in the NBA than the Eastern Conference, and that can be seen like when you look at the screen right now, right to my I don't know which side it is, left or right. Um, there are 13 teams from the Western Conference and 9 teams from the Eastern Conference. Only 8 teams make the playoffs, so that means only one team from the Eastern Conference won't make the playoffs. Um, Most likely will be the Wizards at this point.
John
Definitely a
Wall comes
lot more.
back. I think the Wizards are making it.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, it's still difficult. Going right back into the NBA season, that could be difficult. Um,
I am
but
quite.
then again, so is everyone else. So let's not
So if you
pick
look,
hairs here.
the Blazers are 3 games behind, and then Pelicans 4, Kings 4,
Mhm.
Suns all the way at 6 behind
But- Right.
Memphis. When on the other side, you have the Wizards are 6 games behind, so there's a big leap. Right behind
Right.
them, also the Hornets. So
Right, and, it's interesting because there's only 8 games in the regular season, so it's more than likely that the teams like the
yeah,
Wizards who
Wizards
are
have to go on a
teams,
strong
they
win
have to win
streak.
they pretty much have to win every single game, and the Magic have to lose pretty much every
And
single game.
it's assumed that those bottom teams they are going to go against each other, but they are also going to play the top teams in probably the
The
conference.
Celtics, the Bucks, yeah, yeah. Um, it's difficult for me to say because I think a lot of the none of these players have played, since whatever, the end of March. Um So it's going to be interesting to see how these players rebound. Obviously, they're going to be shaking the rust off for these 8 games. But to me, what will be interesting is if those 8 games affect any of the seedings that go into the playoffs. Like hypothetically, if the Celtics are able to jump from 3 to 2 um, in those 8 games, just due to the fact that the Raptors might have more rust, I think that storyline will become very interesting. Because while those 8 games might not affect like the grand scheme of things, that one switch could determine, a 4 game series versus a seven game series, which obviously the implications there are pretty clear. So honestly, what the NBA is doing and what the NHL has done, I think, um, both really really solid plans. I think both are interesting. And in the future, I do think that this will make NBA and NHL reps and NFL probably and MLB start to consider different variations of the playoff bracket, maybe to create more interest. Because I definitely think that the way the NHL has it will excite a lot of people. Um, and I think that the NBA will. I think the NBA will be the most watched sport. I mean, I'll be tuning in. I'm not a
I mean,
big NBA. Go ahead. Yeah.
on top of that, this is probably going to be one of the exciting NBA playoffs ever. Because typically last year and well, I guess last year, but you could see like Kawhi was really, even though they won, his body was really taking a toll.
Right.
Celtics had a couple injuries, and then LeBron's quite old. Everyone's getting there, but now you have like 2 months, 3 month break to come in. Everyone's
Right.
saying like a rest of LeBron's going to be deadly. I think Kawhi is probably going to be incredible
Right.
playoff series.
I think that the playoffs that provided rest because I think what a lot of people don't understand is um you know obviously in the NFL bye weeks are huge, and when they are means a lot more than just anything. It's a huge this rest in the NBA is these players have suffered through a long, hard, and grueling season, and while I'm sure they're training just as hard during this, I don't know, is off season quarantine, like what are we naming this, like
Short
how about
break.
we call it? How about we call it like a tea time break in the NBA season? Um, they're all gonna get that rest back and that needed health regeneration. Um, I think it's gonna be super interesting. Um, and then obviously the 2021 NBA season will be affected by this. I assume that they will shorten that season as well, just because of the way this whole thing is has played out. And I would be just to be honest, I think that the teams that might be even better going into this next season, honestly, might be the teams that aren't playing. Because if you think about it, they're gonna get from March to December extra rest,
I
right?
also don't know because a lot of these teams are coming back for training camp, and that's a big part of getting people trained and conditioned
That's true.
well. And if, for example, these teams, I don't know if they have a training camp or not, if it's just the 20 teams, it'd also be a disadvantage that the other teams are
That they don't
playing
get to
so
play.
late and closer to the season.
Right. Right. I think it works both ways. I think it's just how your front office handles it, how your coach handles it. And this is where we're gonna see, who the best coaches, like the best coaches, are in the league. Because good coaches in scenarios like this are able to take advantage of whatever they have. All right, we have a
And
call coming in right now. Here we go. Ooh. Hello, you are live right now with the master plan. Oh, hold on. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna call them back.
but while he's calling, while he's calling, I think the reason why he's saying like this works out in both ways, Michael's
Mhm.
doing that at that point. I think it really
Right.
does work out in both ways, considering that 29 of the teams voted on it. The only team that didn't was a borderline playoff team, although they're fine, they're still a borderline playoff team. It's interesting that all these bottom teams, some of them said, yeah, we might not vote on it. They all still voted. Um, they
Right.
still get their same lottery. It's just the same off
Mhm.
season for them, basically. Um,
Mhm.
gives rest for some players like a Stephen Curry or Klay Thompson to get healed along with Griffin. It also, I don't know how they're doing the training
Right.
camps, but if they do, it gives some of these younger
Right.
players
That dichotomy, I think, will be incredibly interesting of how coaches are really able to handle something like this. Um, who knows what's gonna occur? Um, but yeah, um, it's gonna be very very interesting. Yeah. Connor, please go ahead. Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'm just trying to handle this part. Sorry.
Should we move on? Or
All
a
right.
caller?
The call is coming in. I do apologize for the inconsistency. All right. Here we go. Hello.
Technical currently. Um,
Hello. What's your question for us?
some cellular issues here with the.
Um, I can repeat the question.
Okay.
So the question was, what are your thoughts on the uh Major League Baseball owners and their estimation of a $4 billion loss of not playing the games? Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you to the caller. Got our first caller of the.
Okay. So our thoughts on the Major League Baseball and that whole situation. Um, you know, all right. Thank you. All right, we're gonna answer it now. So Connor, your thoughts on the Major League Baseball and everything that's been going on there.
Um,
And the $4 billion estimation loss.
I think that that is a quite big loss.
Hmm.
Like what was it? Like $600,000 a game.
Right.
With, um, So
That's a
they,
lot of money, and I think that and I think that the disagreements between the players and the owners right now is incredibly interesting. And the owners want to play for the money, right? They want
yeah,
that revenue coming in. Um, and the players want to be paid their fair share for their playing time. And it's a similar issue to what we've seen with the lockouts and the ML and sorry, not the MLB, but the NLPA, NFLPA, like in that whole players agreement, and the problems that we've seen recently with that. So to tell you the truth, I think that I think that the MLB has some serious problems coming for them. And those problems with the revenue stream are gonna come up very soon. And the MLB's got to figure out a way to play these games.
but
Because
personally, on the other end, my real question is,
Mhm,
those are estimates. Are those numbers even close
that's
to what it
true.
would actually be? I think
Um, I think that big city owners will probably lose more money.
definitely.
Boston, New York, but Miami, obviously, we've seen their average attendance is 27%. So I don't know if the M or if a team like the Marlins is has much at stake as a team like the Red Sox. I think with a lot of stuff, the estimates might be a little bit high. But I definitely think the MLB is at a standing point where they're standing to lose a lot of money if they don't play these games.
But I mean, let's
Mhm.
remember, like, I don't think these numbers are keeping costs of not only holding up the stadium, but getting rid of the costs of what they get out of
Right.
kind of like the television stuff. I think
Right,
there's been,
I think that that's big, and I think that that's probably one of the bigger things, the televised airtime, and I think that that's why they stand to lose so much money, to tell you the truth. Um, so I think that the MLB owners are, a lot of cheap owners in the MLB. I think that some of them are going to really have to pay up to be able to get the season to be played.
I,
And I think that.
like
Go ahead, yeah.
I've been seeing some stuff that some owners might not even on the season. They might not even lose any. They might just make a little bit, not as much as they hope for, obviously. But
Hmm.
they're obviously releasing all these numbers to try and I guess guilt the uh, the players association into kind of agreeing
Right.
with them to lower their
It's a very, it's a
salaries.
very, it's a very variable situation right now, and I think that the way it plays out will certainly um definitely set a tone for the MLB for the next 10 or 15 years. I think that the way this whole situation plays out, the power struggle between the players and the owners, will be very interesting. And we've seen that struggle happen a lot in different leagues. Um, so I think that this is going to be interesting. I hope, caller, that we answered your question. And the lines are back open, so if you want to call in, please do. I am having a little bit of technical difficulty, so bear with me um, as I tried to sort it out. Um, but please call back in. And Connor, let's move on to the what do we have next? Do we want to talk about the NFL a little bit?
Sure, yeah, let's go to it.
So the not much new news in the NFL that was occurring. They announced, I believe, that no joint practices will be held. But I think they did announce that there would be a start date um, for the practices at least. I
I
think they
mean,
announced some of that, right?
today was the first day that um, coaches could uh, coaches could attend practices. I think you saw Zach Taylor and Mike Tomlin,
Mhm.
the only two today that attended. But
Right.
I think it's interesting to see if more will attend and how it's gonna
And
work
how
in
that whole
that
situation
department.
is gonna play out. Yeah. I mean, obviously we talked about a lot about the NFL last time. Um, and again, I think it's one of those situations where the NFL is going to do everything to play these games. I don't think as much for the fans. I think that if they have to play games without fans, they will. It is 100% about those television rights that they have with CBS, uh, Fox, ESPN, and NBC. So I think that the NFL is going to try to do everything to get the season up and rolling as soon as possible. Now, regarding travel schedules, it'll be interesting to see if the NFL does something like what the NBA has done, in playing every single game in what, Orlando?
I don't know if they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that would be incredibly difficult, but it's interesting to see if they might try.
I think they
Maybe they'll
could.
put
I think one
yeah,
interesting that we could see is this might be unfair to team, but kind of like a bunch of teams will go to one stadium type of thing at a time and
right,
play their game. You have like one o'clock game, one 4 game, and then maybe the night game at one stadium. Um,
right,
Even though that might be unfair to some teams and arguments, which could be a difficulty. But I think
right.
that's a situation we could end up seeing if they really want to.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, to see what's gonna end up happening. Um, because with the NFL, again, they're gonna try to do everything they can to play these games. It's a money game. It really is it's a huge money game. Um, so I really do honestly think that there's going to be some problems that the NFL is going to face, but like the MLB or not like the MLB, but like the NBA and the NHL, they're going to do what they can to play these games. So I know a little bit of news from the NFL. I don't believe there was any new news from the NHL this week. I don't believe there was. I didn't hear anything.
There's
Again, oh,
some
yeah.
I guess specific player news in Travis Frederick is looking like he's retiring potentially for the Cowboys.
For the Cowboys, right? Yeah.
Luke Kuechly is now a pro scout for the Panthers. Probably looking to kickstart his coaching career potentially with that. Um,
Right.
Devontae Freeman, after Bruce Arians said, I don't think we have the cap space, Devontae Freeman said, just reach out to me and we'll see if we can make it work. So potential for Freeman to the Bucks there should be
Mhm.
interesting play. Um, a lot of teams doing their donations for the recent events.
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of stuff going on, um, around the leagues. We did already. I mean, we can touch on it again. The MLB, their 114 game proposal was rejected, I believe. Um, again, touching on the question from the caller earlier on. Again, the MLB's got to really figure this out. I've been highly critical of Robert Manfred, um, previously. Um, because I think he's an idiot. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I certainly want the MLB season to happen, because I want to see what happens to the Astros players. I think that will be super interesting. What happens with that? So the MLB's really got to figure out a way to do this because what's been going on so far, um, has been disappointing. I would say the MLB's had this pretty much since the coronavirus started, or since the 2020, they've been a disappointment, which
Seems like
is
nothing
not what we
has
want to see.
gone well in the MLB in negotiations or anything. It seems like everything's just
Yeah, they're having a lot of problems, which is, um, I don't know if it's unexpected, but it's just weird that I don't know. You just don't hear a lot about problems with the MLB, stuff like this. So very interesting.
and
Um,
I think
yeah,
quick
go ahead.
touch on that a lot of people. This could be a main issue for the MLB. I think a lot of people watch baseball, especially like season pass, might not just watch baseball. It's a completely different kind of experience and everything going to a stadium. And I can't watch like baseball. I really just
Mhm.
can't watch it. It just bores the crap out of me. When in a stadium, you kind
See,
of
I'm different. I'm different. I can watch baseball. Like I have no problem sitting in front of a TV for 4 hours and watching a baseball game. I personally I love it. I love watching the MLB or I love watching baseball games. I don't know why and maybe I don't seem like the person um who would be able to have the attention span to watch the MLB. But I like it. I like watching pitching duels. I think that it's one of those sports, like, it's a pastime, and, you can just relax for an afternoon. Um, I personally can sit through it. I mean, it's a long game, but I'm a tennis player, so I'm definitely used to like stuff of that length. So I guess maybe it just doesn't bother me. Um, but it's different for me, and I think what Connor's bringing up is pervasive in the United States. I think that it affects a lot of people today. I just think that I guess I'm not one of those people, but I do agree that MLB is facing some time issues. Um, but we'll see what happens with that. Um, yeah. So I would like to touch on something. Kind of. Kind of interesting. So recently, our stat classes have had introduced our final project of the year, and for each person, we're doing an independent index project, and so what that means is that um, we will be able to. So we're going to create our own data analysis. So we're going to pick a topic or a sport of what we want to do, and then we will create our own index of that. An index is basically our own statistical analysis. We will pick the metrics in which we'll use that statistical analysis. And additionally, we will pick the weighting of those. Um, so it's a very very interesting thing, um, and it's super super cool. So what I would like to say is that, um, obviously, if you are creating your index project like Connor and myself are, you're more than welcome if it's about sports to contact me and we'll create a podcast episode about that, because I think that that could be very interesting. But these independent index projects are they're very very interesting because it allows you to create your own metrics. And I will be doing a podcast about that soon, and that probably will be coming about on Sunday. So yeah, a lot of new stuff. And I know Connor's doing his own index projects. So just thought that that was an interesting thing to bring up. Um, yeah. Connor, is there anything you have to say regarding that?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. If anyone has, I mean, if you have anything you really want to share sports related that you are currently working on, we can present it out or anything. It doesn't even have to
Yeah.
be um, school related. But yeah, and now if you have any questions or want to share anything that we can talk about, feel
We
free to.
got a caller, Connor.
Do you
We got
have
a
a
caller.
caller?
Oh, nope, we don't have a caller anymore.
So
I couldn't hit accept. All right. Well, the next topic on the docket is pro fishing. Connor, you excited for
pro
this one?
fishing. Um,
Pro fishing. I mean, people have told me, Michael, you cover every single sport, and to that I say, yes, yes, I do. So pro fishing, um, this isn't. I mean, it's kind of a gag, but not really, because Connor and I, we were actually having this discussion the other day. So we were out at Walden Pond, like last week, and we were having a discussion. We were all fishing. Um, we were fishing, and we were having a debate on whether fishing itself was a sport. And I, of course, I'm a big believer that fishing is a sport. And Connor was more of a pastime hobby type
it's a
person. So
leisure.
Connor, please present your arguments on
Well,
why you believe that fishing is a leisure sport.
I think it's the root
Or
of the
leisure.
argument on what qualifies as a sport. I know someone in the chat said tennis is not a sport. I'm sure, Michael, you have a strong
I
opinion on
have a
that
gripe
one.
with that. I have a
But
gripe.
I really think it's kind of I don't know how it could be. There's no competitiveness I see. Like if it's like who catches the biggest fish, that's all luck in my opinion. I mean, sure there could be good spots, whatever. There's no competitiveness in fishing. Um, you got a
And
counter
this
argument,
is
Michael?
Yeah, I got a counter argument. So, I mean, me personally, I haven't watched any pro fishing myself. It's not something that I think I would enjoy. Um, fishing is one of those things where the quieter you are, the better at fishing you are. So my thoughts on fishing are pretty simple. There are a lot of different things that people do as sports. And the reason and the difference that I would say from Connor's perspective is that if you're fishing competitively, in terms of larger size of fish, um, the idea is, you have to know the area, right? You have to know where you're fishing and you have to be able to predict where the fish are based on the temperature, based on the tides, based on the current of the river. Additionally, it depends on what type of lure you use or what type of bait. And I think that that's a decision that's made by the fisherman. So whether you use a bigger lure or a smaller lure or actual bait like chum versus worms, I think is a decision that's up to you. And I will agree, there is some luck involved in whether or not you catch a fish, but I think that depending on where you go, that percentage on whether you do catch a fish is higher or lower, and depending on the decisions that you make. Um, so that's my reasoning why I think fishing is a sport, and I think that there is some lively debate between Connor and myself here. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I think we consider chess a sport. We consider a lot of sport, a lot of things like that sports. So
So you're arguing that it's like the type of bait you use and everything.
I think you can affect the sport yourself, and I think that
So yeah,
that
it takes a lot of skill for fishing, but at that higher level, when everyone knows how to fish and most people know or are gonna practice on whatever lake they've been to, I don't see it as competitive,
hmm.
in my opinion.
I mean, the reason why I see it as competitive is because most of these people haven't fished in this area before. It's usually brand new areas or
But
stuff like
typically,
that.
I don't know if this is the case, but for like golf, for example, if you're gonna be playing at a playing, so if you're gonna be fishing at a pond or playing at a new course that you haven't been to, you're gonna take a couple rounds to get used to that. You're gonna go out there and fish for a couple hours just to figure out how the lake works before you're gonna do a competitive, a whole
Right.
on
But
competitive
that's
competition.
what I'm saying. Like, but what I'm saying is by definition there's practice. So there is there's
But
the actual
practice
sport.
doesn't make something a sport. I can practice juggling for a couple days, know how to juggle. That does not mean juggling. Being a clown
Well,
is a
I mean,
sport.
okay, but I mean, I don't know if there is, but I mean, cup stacking is, I mean, it's one of the weirdest things. All right, we have a caller. I will get back to cup stacking after this. Hello, you're on with the master plan. What is your question, caller?
Um, I just wondered, and they may have already answered this because I turned in a little late, but as
Hmm.
far as Major League Baseball, can any part of the season, do they think any part of the season will be salvaged?
So Connor, did you hear the question?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we talked about about the projections of it, and I think that the season could go on. They could have a season with no fans where they just play. But on the other hand, can a compromise between um, the Players Association and the league um, be completed and the owners be completed? Would there be any way to do that? I know we're talking about the commissioner before um, and saying like he does seem stupid, but he did say that like he thinks that they're gonna get it. They're gonna get the negotiations down soon. Will they? Will they not? I don't know. But but I believe that yes, the league will start back up. I don't think there will be fans at first,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
kind of
Which is
surprising
weird.
to me
Yeah.
that they're so intent on not doing fans when the NFL is like already kind of selling tickets. I'm pretty
Right.
sure some stadiums.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting how that
Right.
plays out, but
To answer your question, maybe in short, I think that the MLB season will happen, basically because of revenue shares, and I think that the lost revenue is just too great, and I think that they're going to try to do an MLB season. The length of that MLB season, I think, is up for debate. Whether it's 100 games, 78 games, um, depending on that, I think that that's up for grabs. Maybe they'll do a half a season, 81 games. I think that definitely is up for debate. But I think at the end of the day, a season will happen because there's just a lot of money involved. At the end of the day, it comes down to dollar signs. So, the MLB is, they're weighing their options, and if they can start the season, which I think that they will, it'll be because of money, and I think that that's incredibly important to the MLB. So I think that a season will happen. How long I think is up for debate. If fans are in the stadiums, I think is also questionable. I think no. But we'll see how this whole thing plays out. So thank you for calling in, and thank you. Yeah. So where were we? Were we at? Were we at
stacking.
juggling? Cup stacking. That's right. We were at cup stacking. Okay. So cup stacking. So my thoughts on cup stacking, right? I mean, by definition, you're stacking cups for a specific time, right? To compete against other people doing the same thing, and you're doing it as quickly as possible, right? So I think that with that, there's practice. So I don't know. I think that Major
So
League Fishing.
you count cup stacking as a sport?
I mean, I wouldn't count it as a very difficult sport, but I guess by definition, yeah.
Well, I agree, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I do not think fishing is a sport. Cup stacking is literally was supposed to be in the was like pretty close to being in the 2020 Olympics, if not actually in it. So I mean,
I think
cup
fishing
stacking.
has gotta be a sport. I think it has to be because you can affect the game by your decisions, right? Whether a fish catches your line or not, I guess is up to chance. I'll give you that. But the percentage on whether it does or not is affected.
I'm taking. If so, like in the 2020 Olympics, is what skateboarding's new, surfing, karate, I think, and then maybe baseball. Which
Yeah, I'm
all
not
of
sure.
those I think are more of sport than. Oh, there's a reason that it's been denied the Olympics every year. Put it in since like a while ago.
I don't know. I think I think it has to be a sport. Great lively debate though, Connor. Great. I mean, two sides of an argument. I think it's being presented here. We do have a question from the comments. Is tennis going to start? How will players be able to travel internationally? Tennis, interesting one. That's difficult because tennis is an international sport, so it'll be difficult to have in. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think internet. I mean, most major athletes will have their own like private sort of airlines type things, which I assume, or even like the organizers of the competition can maybe set up some easier ways of transportation for the um, athletes. I think tennis could definitely be done pretty easily without fans. I don't think people being at the stadium brings them too much revenue, as stadiums are quite small and everything. Um, but I think it should be. It should come back. I don't know how they are gonna do it.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. Turner, a lot, almost every tennis player is international. I mean, um, I don't know. It's difficult to say. They would have to do a lot of testing. I know that. Um, I don't think there'd be any fans in the stadiums. Um, there's a good chance that it probably just won't come back until next year. I think.
I think it. I think it should come back. I mean, golf study scheduling like PGA tours. I think it's a similar type of thing with people going from. Maybe they do something like that where everyone goes to one country where they can just spread around different courts type of deal. But I think there's a good shot for sports like golf or tennis or something where it's a couple people competing against each other where fans are not needed. And most of the competitions are international all over the place, not in the same spot. I think it is quite likely that.
Mm-hmm. There's another question, and Connor, I think I'll let you take the lead on this one. Can Tom Brady bring the Buccaneers to a Super Bowl? I mean, as a Bucs fan, take it away.
I mean, I don't think there's really an argument of can he bring them to a Super Bowl. I think it's a pretty clear yes. He has arguably more weapons than he ever has had in his career.
We sure do know that.
His
Obviously, the recent. I don't want to get anything too political, but the Saints seem a little bit fractured at this point.
Yeah,
due to some comments about Drew Brees, so they
I mean,
definitely
it is
seem a
said
little bit
that Drew
fractured.
Brees and like Malcolm Jenkins did have a talk, and might be back on track.
It's difficult to say, but the Drew Brees, that whole saga seems.
I think you have two of the top, maybe three top four teams in the NFC right there, the Saints and Bucks, just with star power alone. The Bucks defense was very young last year and only getting better.
All right, we have a caller.
Take this call, then we'll get back to the
Text now. Come on, buddy. All right, what is your question, caller? Caller, what is your question? Can you hear me? What's your question for us tonight?
having some technical issues with the caller.
If you can hear me, can you text your question to us or to me, and then we'll answer it that way because you seem to be having some connection trouble. Okay. All right. Thank you for your call, and just text us your question. We'll get right to it.
Some technical difficulties coming in there from.
Yes, text now might might not be the way to do it, Connor. We'll have to figure out a different way. But yeah. So Connor, get back to the question, of course.
So yeah, I just think that Bucks defense is young and only getting better. Bucks offense is so star-studded. Only adding a better piece to that line in the first round. I think everything's looking up for the team. You got one of the best coaches of all time in Bruce Arians. They're already out there practicing together. I don't see a way that this Bucks team doesn't make playoffs. I really don't. The Saints beat him twice, Falcons beat him once, and then it takes some tough losses against like the Chiefs in the season, I believe.
It'll be difficult to see them.
I see them splitting with the Saints, beating the Panthers twice, splitting with the Falcons. So I think
we got the same caller. All right, please, fingers crossed on this one. Text now. What is going on with you tonight?
So when Michael tries,
this is the worst. This is the biggest. This is the worst. I'll
let Michael do the technical difficulties while I still go on that question. I don't see them not making the playoffs, and every playoff team is obviously competitive, but maybe the Eagles last year because they were playing with quarterback with a Mike. So, but yeah, I mean, once you're in the point of the playoffs, I think anyone can make it to the Super Bowl, especially last year with the 49ers that can be seen. Their games were fairly close, all of them. I think the Seahawks had a good chance of just beating them. So yeah, I think I don't think it's an argument that he can bring them to the playoffs. I think it will be tough for them to get through the playoffs into the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't think their secondary is good enough to keep up with, for say, the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They're very young, trying to get better secondary, but all players under 22, I believe, with Sean Murphy Bunting, Jamal Vernon Hargraves is gone now. He's back on the Texans. But yeah, I don't think they could beat the Chiefs in a Super Bowl. I am not positive about other teams, but I think they could definitely make it to the Super Bowl. Pretty, not easily, but I think they'll be up there in the Super Bowl. Michael seems to be still having technical difficulties trying to get the phone call working. So, Michael,
Yeah, we're just having some issues with that caller. Please call in. I'm trying to work it out. Text now is being a little bit difficult right now, but it's okay. The caller who just called in, okay, it's just a practical joke. Never mind. Okay, Connor, please continue on the question.
I think I pretty much wrapped it up. If you have any other opinions on it, Mike.
Yeah, so I think that the Bucks can definitely make a Super Bowl. I think they will make a Super Bowl 100%. I think there's no question they'll make it. I think they'll win it. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
See, that's where we disagreed. I do not think they could beat a Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Oh, they could beat the Chiefs easily.
It would be an absolute shootout. I mean, you see it in the regular season, I believe. Absolute shootout to see who. But I don't think the Chiefs have some good players in the secondary. The Bucks really don't. They have their middle linebackers are good in coverage, but I think also very youthful. The whole secondary is quite young, and I don't know if they can really coordinate enough and keep up with a Tyreek Hill in the secondary as much as I love.
Right.
If you could not tell.
I honestly do think that they will make the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll win the Super Bowl because Tom Brady's just the GOAT. Like at the end of the day, Tom Brady is the GOAT. And honestly, that team is so good. That team is so good. I think they can win the Super Bowl. I honestly do, and I think they will. I think they will win the Super Bowl. You can mark it down. Friday, June 5th, 2020. I think that the Buccaneers will win the Super Bowl of this upcoming season.
Will they beat in the Super Bowl?
Chiefs, Ravens.
Prediction for the AFC yet?
Difficult to say. I mean, the Chiefs are so good. I mean, Lamar is incredible, but him in the playoffs has not been great. So it's difficult to say. I don't know. I think that one's gonna take some more thought, but I'm out there for the Bucks, man, 100%. I'm a Bucks. I'm not a Bucks fan, but I'm rooting for the Bucks, man. Yeah, if they
fan.
If they don't play the Patriots, I'm rooting for the Bucks. So another question coming in from chat: how do you think college sports will change due to COVID?
I think one interesting thing just saw was Michigan said if they don't have students coming back, then they're just ignoring the whole sports party. Because a lot of these schools, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, all these schools make so much on college football that it basically funds their school. So if students do come back, they are having college sports because it's such a big influx of money for them.
NCAA is huge. Go ahead. I was just making a comment.
Yeah. I mean, if not all the students come back, I think some schools might still try and get sports going, even if they don't have students come back. I don't think it would work, but I don't see a world where if students are back, college sports, especially for at least Div 1 schools, will come back because it's
Right.
for some of these schools, it's their main source of revenue other than tuition.
Tuition. Right. NCAA is huge. College sports is extremely popular around the country, especially in states with that don't have pro sports teams. Um, Huge.
Alabama.
Like really, really, really big. Like Alabama, obviously. Ole Miss and Mississippi. The list goes on.
Oh yeah, that Ole
So
Miss versus Mississippi State game.
yeah, so I think it's huge for a lot of different reasons. I think the technical difficulties have been fixed. So if you would like to call in, please do. But if college sports, they'll change probably. I don't know. I don't know about fans and stadiums again. But I think it all really depends on what Connor was talking about earlier regarding if students come back in the fall, because that's the thing, right? Like that's the whole kahuna right there. Um, I don't know. I think that college sports will only come back if students come back, and from what I've been hearing, that's up in the air right now. So
Depends on the school.
yeah, I think that too. Size of the school and location as well. Um, but it's difficult to say. They'll definitely change. Um, Dynamically, I don't know how much. But I think that's just something that's left up to what happens. So we'll see, obviously. But it will be interesting for sure to see what happens with college sports this upcoming college season.
One thing that we haven't really talked about was the NHL. I think there was an announcement a couple days ago that the playoffs, I don't know if this was already out, but it's reseeded every round. So like the bracket get up last time.
Oh,
The
so
bracket it would
that's
follow. So basically, if you have three of the higher seeds win that are supposed to go in the bracket, are supposed to go against the 1, 2, and 3 seeds, but then the seed wins supposed against the 4th seed. Instead of playing that 4th seed, they would go play the 1 seed, if that makes sense. But they reshuffle it every
so
round.
they reseed after every round. That's weird. That's weird. I mean, I don't even know what to think about that. That's like a new concept, so it's difficult to grasp at hand. NHL is definitely trying out some things though, Connor. They're definitely playing around with this whole idea. I think the NHL is taking this to their advantage. Um, I don't think they need to. The NHL playoffs is again the most enjoyable playoffs of any pro sport out there. So what I have to say is that I think the NHL is being creative, and I love it. I love how they're playing around with ideas. I mean, I think that, again, as I've said before, I'm a Bruins fan, and obviously it's unfortunate that what's happened to the Bruins in playoffs. I think, but at the end of the day, I'm not really too concerned about it. I think it's gonna be sick having 22 teams in the playoffs. I mean, that's not 22 teams. I mean, that's gonna be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
I think one good thing they're doing, which is interesting, is right now they're starting the phase 2 of their coming back to play business, and they are saying that I think it's like 6 players on the ice at one time type of thing, just to make it all controlled, so you don't have too many.
don't have any risk, right?
Don't have any
They're out there
risk.
taking the lowest amount of risk. But I mean, the NHL is making big strides. I don't know when do you know when the NHL is supposed to come back that first day?
Um, I don't know the exact. I don't think they gave the exact date yet.
Did they
I
give
know
a general
June
time?
8th is when phase 2 starts.
Okay. Um, Speaking about the
I,
NHL itself,
I
the
know they said
organization.
the one date they did say was, I think it's July, early July, first 2 weeks of July, was it would not return past July 10th or whatever. So after July, early July, you'll probably see the return. But until then,
Um, yeah.
chance.
I think what the NHL needs to do is they need to start before the NBA does. Because if they're the first major pro sport to come back, oh boy, I mean, everyone is going to be watching that. I mean, everyone already watches the NHL playoffs because I mean, they're incredible. But if they were able to have the entire market of the United States, I mean, think about how incredible that would be. I mean, they would have every single fan because, and every single sports fan wants sports back. I mean, I'm hungry for any type of sports. I mean, that's why I've been watching soccer and and no, just soccer, German soccer. I mean, like, I'm hungry for any type of sports I can get. And if NHL comes back, it's so small, but their product is so good.
I mean, disregarding this break, you are going to have NBA starting back, NHL starting back early July, NBA starting back late July, NHL going for a couple weeks, then in like August area, you're starting the NBA playoffs after the lottery in August, and then you're getting, so for basically the month of July to early August, you're getting the NHL playoffs, then you're going into the NBA playoffs, and then you're starting the NFL regular season, assuming that starts back. I think it will. They'll really set on it starting back at the normal time.
It's going to be great for people like me and Connor, who have had nothing to talk about for about a couple months now. So soon we're going to have a lot to talk about.
And then, yeah, especially with NBA getting pushed back. So obviously this break was not good, but you're probably looking at no stop in sports for the
greatest like period of sports. Like pretty much starting mid-July, we're not going to stop sports
until next
well, I mean, we have the NFL, and then NBA starts back up again in
along
December,
with like the NHL,
and then the MLB is probably going to come back next March, right? And the NHL, so we're gonna it's folks, it is gonna be nuts, to tell you that. Like, to be honest, the whole way this thing is gonna work out is gonna be crazy. I'm super excited to get live sports back, because that means we don't have to talk about pro fishing anymore. It means we can talk about some real new sports news, which we haven't had in what seems like forever, and it's been a few months. I'm ready. I'm ready for anything. And I think that, man, the NHL has such a good product that once more people see it, it's gonna be incredible. Once more people are like, NHL, it's gonna be incredible. Okay, we got another caller. I'm calling back in, so here we go. Hello, you are live with the master plan. What is your question, caller?
I'm calling about Drew Brees, and if you think that, what you think of his comments, and do you think they'll affect him in a negative way?
Okay. So to answer it briefly, I don't want to get too in depth with the comments that he made. Just because I feel like being a sports show, it's not really our place to comment on politics. And that's not really the goal. But in terms of the effect that it will have on his team, I definitely think we've seen some effects be present already. With some light fracturing between Drew Brees and his teammates. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't know how much it will affect the team in whole. Connor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't see it affected. I think it's already been reported that him and
Malcolm
Jenkins have kind of gotten back. Other NFL players are deleting what they said about him. Adrian Peterson came out and said, Drew Brees, he's not a racist, it's a bad situation, stuff like that. So I really don't think it will happen. It'll have too much
I don't think we'll have too much effects, and the effects that we've seen so far, I think, are only temporary. I think sports teams are so close that I at the end of the day, I don't think that the effects will be too big. But in terms of his actual comments, I really don't want to comment on what he said, because I feel that we are not the news. We are a sports radio. We comment on sports and their effect in the sports world. And so I don't want to comment on that, because I just feel like it's not our place. Thank you for your question, and please continue watching, and have a great night. Yeah, so I really hope that sports comes back soon. And I think that again that I think was I in the middle of saying the NHL is a great product? I think I was, right? So I mean, the NHL has an incredible product of hockey. The sport, like the 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 sport is always moving, and what I mean by that is that there's always action on the ice. There's no running up, calling a play. There's no they don't have like 20 timeouts like the ML or the NBA does, and obviously the MLB has has as many breaks as any other, like more than any other sport. The NHL is constantly going. Their entire object of the NHL is keeping the pace of play going. So their product of play, the PR of the NHL is terrible. Um, it's horrible. I mean, come on, it's just god awful. I mean, the fact that they haven't been able to promote a sport like that and get it to be bigger is incredible. But if they're smart, they will be able to take advantage of this. And if they get enough people to see it, they'll be like, "Wow, playoff hockey is incredible," and it'll be huge. It'll be huge for
Especially
the NHL.
if they start it in early July, before any of the one sec.
So I think if they start it in early July or something like that, I think that will be incredible for the NHL. And the NHL is such a pervasive sport that I think that with that it can be incredible. Um, so just speaking generally, I think the NHL has a lot to do with, and honestly, to tell you the truth, I think that's great. Um, so so I just think that everything is in the NHL is incredible, and that they just need to promote their sport better. So I think that the NHL has a lot of room to grow, and that they need to be able to grow. So that's my complete thoughts on the NHL. I did a podcast about it. I believe it's the Master Plan and Apple Podcast, Spotify, or your favorite podcast listening app. That I talked about the NHL. I think I've talked about it a couple times in those episodes. There's an episode on Sidney Crosby where I talked about it extensively. So I think that that's really crucial. But yeah, those are complete thoughts about the NHL. Really, I mean, and why they need to start back earlier than the NBA. The NBA doesn't have those same issues because they're always going to be popular. Um,
And I think it will start back at least a couple weeks earlier.
you're right, and I think that's important for the NHL. So a lot of big things coming along for sports. Lines are back open. If you want to call in, call right at this number, right below, like right here. And we'll be more than happy to answer your question. Connor, is there anything that you particularly had any ideas to talk about? Anything that we haven't talked about yet that you would like to bring up?
Um, I just want to shout out something I've been watching a bit on YouTube. I talked to Michael about it before. It's actually quite entertaining for if you're really looking for some sort of sport during this time. It is Wiffle Ball on YouTube. I think they call themselves MLW, like Major League. It's quite entertaining. Apparently, they've been doing it for a while. I'm just finding out about it because nothing else to watch. But I definitely recommend if you're a fan of baseball, even if you watch, just something to watch, some sport-like activity to watch.
Yeah, and I think what's really crucial is I think these smaller sports like bowling, and then the really super tiny sports like lacrosse.
This is their time to take off.
This is their time to take off. If you're able to restart your league, this is when you can get a lot of viewership, a lot of patient viewership, right? I mean, I think if baseball started back now, people would be like,
This isn't
it's
that
a
bad.
4-hour long game. It's a 4-hour long game, but I gotta fill 7 hours in the afternoon. So, it turns out to be not that bad. So for sports like that, the ability to start back up now draws in a lot of viewership, and a lot of people are gonna be like, this is actually pretty good. If curling were able to restart, I'd certainly be watching that. So I think that for sports like smaller sports, disc golf, stuff like that, disc golf. I actually encourage you watch some disc golf. The highlights. They're pretty cool. I mean, it's something. It's something. It's something. So for smaller sports, and especially the really really small ones, like lacrosse. If lacrosse were able to start back up now, I think that its fan base would grow. Um, I don't know how much. I mean, they just recently shut down the MLL, which is Major League Lacrosse, in favor of the PLL, which is Premier League Lacrosse. Um, it's lacrosse. I mean, my personal opinion is if you're playing lacrosse, it just means you weren't good enough at like football or hockey or baseball or or like that. I think that. I mean, I don't want to call
College
anyone out,
lacrosse
but
is somewhat popular, especially for people that can get scholarships, and that someone's getting a scholarship for that.
yeah.
But where do you go after college if you're an athlete? If you cross,
I mean,
there's not much in that.
especially the cross. There's no room. There's no. I mean, internationally, it's. I don't even know if there is anything internationally.
Kind of reminds me of the WNBA in some senses, where the pro league does have some funding, but it's not much. I know they complain for a lot. It's not too much. You don't. I mean, the NFL does give, or the NBA does give them like 6.
They give a percent of.
They give a good amount of money. Not enough to, in some cases, really make a career out of that. In a lot of these sports. So
I think that if you're a smaller sport, in the United States, if you have the ability to restart your league right now, do that. Like that's a smart idea if you do that.
Yeah.
Because you will be able to, right, garner all this viewership that has been sitting at home watching highlights of sports, watching YouTube videos about sports, but not watching any new content, which people in the United States absolutely strive for new content every single day. That's why reality TV is so popular in the US. So if you're able to restart your league, 100% go for it. Like goal, it's like there's a gold mine, and all you have to do is be able to get to it, and then you get all the gold. Because I'll tell you what, like
if you have some good PR plus a league starting back up in this time, you are gonna get
like if lacrosse started to back up, like Connor and I would be covering it 100%.
And the thing is, and a station like ESPN, which has nothing going on, would put that on, kind of type of thing. Another, it might be on
the other day,
ESPN 3 or something, but they put it on prime time or sport.
Right. Or FS1 would have it on. FS1 the other day was showing bowling. Ready for this, Connor? Bowling highlights. It was a replay of a bowling tournament. I mean, to me, that's just like, I mean, they're really out of content. Like, bowling itself is not prime time. It's not popular, but to show the replay of it, oh boy! I mean, that's a whole new level.
I think the snooker league is still going on right
now. I wonder if corn. What is it? Corn husk. Cornhole. Yeah, that I feel like that could restart.
Yeah, but I know snooker, which is a off brand of. Well, I guess in some ways that's still on. That's
okay.
Interesting to me. I think it's pretty fun. One of the players took a knee, which was
interesting.
Odd.
I would love to see poker be able to restart.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
I think that poker is one of those things where
this is a point where poker World Series just happened. The World Series is supposed to be coming up. This is a point where there isn't usually much poker, but I think they could. Really
what I'm saying with poker, like, a face mask. Does it really affect the sport? No. when you're trying to hide, your face in your hand, I mean, a face mask can only enhance that, right?
Yeah.
Like it covers up, right? So I feel
Though,
like,
though
I
I
mean,
think
if you're
some
wearing
people might
gloves,
complain about
yeah,
that. Some people like, my game revolves around
right.
seeing a
But if
facial
everyone,
expression.
hypothetically, let's say everyone is wearing the same mask. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they could regulate it, but
I mean, because
again, I would
typically
watch it.
worst players you see are the ones who are like hiding their face and everything. Your tournaments. In some ways,
Right.
I think that's usually the
I mean, what you
sometimes.
could also do is just test everybody. I mean, you're not. I don't think
Yeah,
at the end of the day you're testing that many people. You're testing a couple dealers and some cameramen and then the players, obviously. But yeah, I mean,
and
it
those
can't be
poker
more than
tournaments get big. Right? There's hundreds
right.
of people. If you do if you set up like a the match type thing, you get celebrities. You get like a Daniel Negreanu and some of these professional poker players.
Oh, Daniel
Able
Negreanu. He watch if you guys get a chance, watch his highlights. He is absolutely incredible.
like if you get this a table ready, you to have a 2 hour table or something like that, they'll start with the same amount of chips. That could be fun to watch. But I don't think you can
Right.
start back with tournaments yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think you. I mean, I don't know. I would watch it. Personally, I would watch it a lot. Yeah. So a question just came in, just about what we were talking about. How do you think poker games will change if people have to wear face masks? You might be hiding your tell. Again, I think that's what we just went over.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's
there aren't too many tells from. It's like
the best of the
nothing.
best.
A lot of it's in the eyes. Typically, how
Right.
people look. Most
Hmm.
poker players have a good enough poker face that they're not smiling and or anything. They're trained not to do that.
Right. Right.
You got to see how they look. I know one tip that it's like when they look straight down and straight back up at someone, it usually means they have something like that. So a lot of the tells aren't really in facial expression, at least for top tier
Right. They're more in
players,
the eyes and the lines right here. Yeah.
and just body
Um.
type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I think that there's a lot left. And a lot for these smaller sports or and Major League Fishing, which Connor would not consider a sport. I would, but whatever about that. Again, number right here. Call in. Lines are open. We're ready to take your call. Ready to answer your question to the best of our ability. Um, I mean, I don't know. Uh, that's all I had planned for tonight, Connor. I didn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have more. Um, Unfortunately, this stream is more meant to be covering recent sports news, and it's quite difficult when there's no sports going on. So we'll leave the lines open for maybe 5 more minutes, and if no one calls in, by that time we'll end the stream. But um, you know, let's just talk about the NBA to kind of close it out. Connor, predictions for the finals and who do you think will be there and kind of why?
Alright, so first going into the playoffs, I don't think any teams will necessarily change. I think those 9 seeds are a bit too far back for just 8 games of play to change because it's tough for those teams to get up, especially like a Suns or even the Wizards 6 games behind. It's tough for those teams to get back up, but it should be fun because it doesn't really impact their lottery chances. So
Hmm.
I see those seeds making it. I think the Clippers with a healthy Kawhi, kind of a shoe in to the finals. I know people saying healthy LeBron could be deadly with the rest of LeBron, but Kawhi just looks much when he's rested and when he's especially in the playoffs. Kawhi, he's just incredible. I think in the East, Bucks are definitely a favorite. I think the Raptors might have slowed down, kind of off from their hot streak at the end of the year. Um, Celtics, if everyone's healthy, I know they've had injury issues throughout the year, but if everyone's healthy on that team, that's a really, really deadly roster. Though small, it's
Hmm.
pretty scary. Um, but yeah, I think Clippers in the West, Bucks maybe the Celtics in the East. Got a couple questions in chat.
Yeah, I'll just share my thoughts. I think that I think that the Bucks Forget the Raptors and the Celtics are probably the only three teams I could see making the finals.
Maybe
Um,
if Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons get over the differences in this break, potentially.
it's
But yeah, I see
I
Bucks
doubt
or
I don't see
Celtics.
that. Um, and then the Western Conference, Lakers and Clippers are. I mean, my only two things. I would say that the Lakers would probably make it over the Clippers.
If
I mean, it's
if
LeBron James.
I mean if the Pelicans go on a run, they get that eighth seed. I could see a round one upset Pelicans over Lakers. The AD versus
Oh,
Brandon Ingram, Lonzo
that's
Ball, that trade. You have Zion, who, although he doesn't know what
I don't
defense
know.
is, it's on his definitions.
But
He is a 20 point per
right.
game scorer so far. So
Right, but the Pelicans have to make that run in the first place, which I mean, how many
it's
games back did they
tough.
win?
They're four,
It's
I
I don't
think,
know.
4 or 5. I think 4
I
though.
doubt
It's
I don't I
tough.
don't
It's
see
tough
that
for them.
happening. So first question that has come in. How do you think that COVID has affected college recruiting? I think it's affected it majorly for all spring sports.
Yeah.
100%. A lot of college recruiting occurs for juniors at least in the spring. If you're playing a spring sport, so I think that everyone who
So
is playing spring sports.
for the top recruits in some sports, football and basketball specifically, in my mind, those players getting college offers like the Manning, I believe it's
Mhm.
the Manning kid, and then
Right.
like some of the people deciding not to go to college instead to go to G League type stuff. Like those players have already been scouted extensively. Like in Amani Bates, who's still 2 years out from high school, is predicted to be like the best NBA player of all time. So a lot of these sports have a lot of scouting pre. I think it would be difficult to see kind of the less heard of players kind of get their shot in the sense the people who haven't been followed for their
For their
last
whole
few
lives.
years. Yeah, I think it's tough for them to get their shots, especially some of the more lower income community type athletes that might not get a scholarship because they haven't been scouted enough and can't afford to go to any of those big schools.
Right.
So I think it could be an issue, but I think most of the 5-star, 4-star recruits have already been looked through. The guys you see be first round picks.
Mhm.
Those guys have already been scouted thoroughly.
Yeah. So, and then the second question that has come in is, with no fans in stadiums, how do you think it will affect the sport for the players, Connor?
Ooh, I think it kind of takes away home field advantage. I know. For example, the NBA, it won't matter because they're all in Orlando. Um, I don't think it has too big of an effect. Maybe like a baseball. I think definitely fans have a pretty big, um, not large, but like just getting loud on different pitches. Almost every pitch you hear some
Mhm.
fans clapping or going what, like that mentality will definitely
Right.
be much different. But I don't know how much of an effect it will make on players. But it'd be a different environment.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different environment. But at the end of the day, I don't think the effect will be huge, just because,
I mean,
you know,
go ahead, Mike.
I just think that, I mean, for away teams, it's a thing, but I don't think that's really gonna matter anymore, as most of the games will probably be played in neutral sites anyways. It'll be weird. Um,
We're
it's definitely weird
probably
watching sports.
we're probably gonna see better play.
Yeah, from both sides, just because you
But it
want to
also
feel like that
shows
extra.
some players don't got the nerves to play in high tense situations, and without the fans there, they might play better. Which is the
Which
mental game is a big part of sports.
Oh,
So
it's a
taking that
huge part of it.
away, it's somewhat of an issue, but I think we'll see better play overall. It won't affect
Yeah.
viewership as much, other than it being weird not seeing any fans.
Right. It's weird not seeing fans, just because of the noise. That's a big thing. Just not hearing the actual sport being played instead of, like, I don't know, fans cheering. That's a little bit interesting. If there are no other questions that come in chat or come in on my phone, we're gonna end the stream now. I know we're ending about 10 minutes early, but that's just because in
Then
terms
no
of
news,
call-ins, in terms
really.
of question, and in terms of news. I don't know if we will do this next week. I don't know if there's gonna be enough news to talk about. Maybe the following week. Hopefully, if there's some news by then. It really depends on what comes out.
I think if we see a lot more,
Yeah.
a lot more, I think NFL and NBA and NHL teams
Yeah.
coming back to ice, there could be stories coming along, and then especially what happens with MLB negotiations will be some big news coming up.
Yeah. So I think it depends on the news cycle at this point. Thank you for everyone who has stopped in even for just a second and popped in. We really support. We really want to thank you for that. It really supports us, and it makes us want to do this every time. Please drop a like and drop a sub. I know I'm sounding like a YouTuber a little bit here, but you got to do what you got to do. I mean, those subscribers, those likes, help the video do better, and the subscribers will help our channel grow. So those are both super important. Thank you to everyone who's watched tonight. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for your calls. Thank you to Connor, obviously, for setting the stream up, not only doing that, but joining us again to do this call and stream with us and fielding questions all night. So thank you to Connor for that. And yeah, that's, it was another fun stream. Please call in, all the time. And we'll be here. Thank you to everyone once again, for listening to the master plan. And have a great weekend. And we will be back soon. I don't know when, but we will be back soon. I can promise you that. Thank you, and have a great night.
We're out.